This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thank you for being with us today, whether you're DVR'd us, whether you're watching us statewide in the state of Louisiana, or anywhere around the world on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you see, I'm dressed a little differently than normally dressed for my shows, because on September 18th, I was at a boxing match, and I saw a lot of young men who had changed their lives because of boxing. So I called a friend of mine, Bill Tucker, whose son was one of the boxers, and I said, I've got an idea for a show. I want to start getting a show together. And his son is here, Harris Bonnie Tucker, now called the Diesel. But his real name is Bonnie because he was born on Easter Sunday. So, Bonnie, you can sit down. I still have my heels on, so I look taller than I normally am. So I'm not putting the flats on here, except when I do my exercise shows. To my right, I have Malcolm Miller, who is called Rocky. He has been a boxer, but now he is not boxing currently.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I have Henry Babyface Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a junior? Or the
second?
second? Yeah, the second,
my
because your grandfather, after your grandfather, your father, who was on a show earlier, when we were talking about do black, white, and blue lives matter. Okay. And your father was very adamant about that. And we talked about, I guess that would be your great-grandfather, Lewis Allen, who was assassinated over in Mississippi, right?
Liberty, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And did that white man, it was a racial thing back in those days, I think. Did they ever find out who killed your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather?
No, actually, the FBI trying to get the case closed.
Really?
Yep.
So it's still an open case,
still
like
open
cold cases on television.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, it was on CNN 60 Minutes.
Was
not
it?
too long ago. Yes,
well, somebody, Reverend Pitcher, who was here, he had read the book and had seen your great-grandfather's name in the book and during the Civil Rights era.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Tucker, I've been knowing your father a long time. Now, you have, some people who are finding their purpose. You came from, your father's a businessman in the city of Baton Rouge. He's always very prominent in the community and does a lot of things. Now, I know you played baseball, you played football.
Yes, ma'am.
And your passion, I think, was football. You even tried out for the Saints.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, even though you had a minor problem, a little hearing disability growing up, you overcame that. You still went to Southern University and graduated in business management.
Yes, ma'am.
And but you got out, I guess, and you were looking for your purpose, had a little, hung out with some of the wrong kinds of guys during that time.
Right.
Tell me what boxing did for you to get you back on the right track. Because he won his first, on September 18th, his first pro fight. And with a TKO, a knockout.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
in the third round, wasn't it?
Third
I was
round.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, just coming up, like you say, my dad was real hard worker. And I watched everything he did and tried to replicate it. And, after the trial with the Saints didn't work out, I got my degree in business management. And I was, working in the family business at churches. And, just hanging around the wrong guys, and I became a wolf, hanging around wolves, you're gonna act like one. So that type of stuff just comes with the territory. Had a couple run-ins with the law, got in a couple fist fights, shootout, stuff like that. But it is what it is. It made me a better man today. Right. And if I could take it back, I would. But I don't.
But you learned from it and you grew, and that's the important thing. And now you have something. You thought football was the end-all, be-all for you. When you lost the job at the Saints, you were devastated. But now, tell me, what do you think boxing has done for you?
Well, boxing, I'm trying to take it to another level because, like I said, after trying out for the Saints and everything, I still had that drive, and to get to the next level. And I didn't want to be a regular person anymore, So I wanted to be back in the limelight, and boxing gives me a opportunity to be in the limelight.
And that's just two people with the spotlight on them, not a whole team out there.
Right, and also give me a chance to support my family in a special way. I'm starting off small, but eventually I want to make it big.
And you attribute kind of going down in your life and coming back up. But how did you just get interested in boxing? You work out at the 14th Street Gym, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How did your daddy take you down? How did you get interested from football to boxing?
Well, I always was a competitor and a tough guy, you know, and when I first started boxing,
How old were you?
I was 25 when I first started.
You were a little older when you started.
Right,
Yeah.
I started late. You know, I just started early, you know, but
You're 32 today, I think,
yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But yeah, I started late, but you know, just when I first started, I was actually a brawler. You know, I'd go in the ring and I might hit somebody, go flying this way. But as I developed my skills, I become more of a boxer. But you
Is
know,
your trainer down at the 14th Street Gym?
yeah, my trainer is a guy named David Pichon from New Orleans, Louisiana, and we go from Monday through Friday, from about 6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 in the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
To 8:30, so every day, 2 hours a day to
Yes,
train.
ma'am.
So you have to be dedicated, and that's one thing
Very.
is teaching you discipline. Is teaching you discipline,
Yeah,
right?
very
And
much. Not necessarily just working in the gym. I got to do stuff outside the gym too, as well.
like what?
Running 3 miles a day, doing push-ups, a lot
Running
of
3
sit-ups,
miles, yeah.
a lot of shadow boxing, and you know, these two guys here can attest for that because they know everything it takes to get there. Also,
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to take it on over to Babyface. Your father does a lot of things in the community. He's helped, in fact, doing the show with Reverend Pritchard on it and Preston Castillo, we were trying to see how we can help him get his gym back, because that's what the show is about. It's about finding solutions in the community for all people who need help.
Right.
So I know they made some connections, and Kevin's going to be talking to the Reverend about the Breck, trying to reopen your gym out there in Pride. So you came from such a strong, your father was a boxer, he had a gym, he trained you.
Right.
And now you also won on September 18th.
Yes, ma'am.
And the same tournament, I guess, the fighting
Same
matches
show.
that Harris Bunny was in. Diesel. He doesn't like Bunny, so I'm just playing with him. That was a baby name. Now he's the Diesel. So tell me, Babyface, how was it like growing up with your father? Now we're going to hear the real deal.
Nah, but actually, I mean, I had a great childhood. You know, I mean, my parents, you know, through the graces of God, you know, going to tournaments and stuff like that, I got a chance to travel the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people, you have grown-ups who haven't been places I've been
Now
and
you have
done
9
things.
national titles and 16 titles.
Right.
You told me,
16 belts, 9 national titles, 3-time Fighter of the Year, 1-time Sean Lee Award winner, and that list goes
And you're
on
a
and on.
featherweight.
Right.
What class are you?
heavyweight.
Heavyweight,
Yeah.
okay.
But I had
And that's all by weight. There's 12 classes, you told me, in boxing. And so you're a feather and you're heavy. Okay, the
Right.
heavy is the top weight class,
Right.
isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
that's the big guys.
Yeah, it's a big one.
But yeah, I mean, you know, growing up, I mean, through the graces of God, you know, my parents always found a way, and we had a great support system. You know, with sponsors and family members just helping out and pushing me to go to different tournaments, and it wasn't always easy.
Was it always boxing for you since your father was a boxer? Did you play any other sports?
Actually, I was pretty good at basketball.
Really?
That's what I wanted to play, but you know,
Yeah.
that didn't go like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Saints, huh? It's
Actually,
like the
in
Saints.
middle school, I was playing basketball and I broke my my hand. And I was supposed to go to the Junior Olympics the next week.
Really?
And ever since then, my dad was like, "Nah, you're boxing. It's over with."
Right. And you started boxing at 4 or something, didn't you?
I was in the gym at 4, but I
Yeah.
didn't start competing until I was 8 years old.
And you've been winning ever since.
And ever since.
What's your record?
As an amateur, I was like 402 and 23 or 4. I never really kept up with the wins, to be honest. You get so high until you just, you know, I know I had over 400 fights, but only 23 losses. I kept up with the losses.
Right. Okay. Because that's something I got to strive to do better at when I
Right,
lose,
and
right?
you gotta learn from it. No loss is a loss if you learn from it.
That's right.
Right.
Now, Malcolm, you have a different story. I talked to Malcolm. I told your father, I said, I want to see someone who maybe didn't come from a great background or had some problems, real problems growing up. Your father died when I think you were about 12 from a brown recluse spider.
Actually, when I was 8.
8.
Yeah.
And it was a brown recluse spider, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're what, 17 now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Will you be 18 this year or next year?
Next year.
Okay. And you graduate high school next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he died. I had never heard of a brown recluse spider, and I talked to you, and I said, I need to go look up and see what that is. In fact, there'll be a picture of it on the screen for people to be aware of it because they're very venomous. And that is what killed your father. He was a mechanic.
Yes, ma'am.
Walking around the car, and they think maybe it was some spiders under there that bit him.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. And he died from that.
Yes, ma'am. probably about 2 years after he had gotten bit. It got so bad that.
And your mother's a nurse. She's an LPN.
Yes, ma'am.
And they couldn't get him to go to the doctor, right?
Oh, he was a stubborn old man and just never liked the doctor, and it finally got the best of him.
Did they know what it was, or he just thought, I'm feeling bad? Or did they realize it was from these spider bites?
They did after it was a little bit too late, but they found out what it was and what caused it.
Just poisoned his system over the years, I guess, and no antibiotics, no nothing to compete or get the venom out of his blood system. So then you became a little, what would you call yourself? What did you become, Malcolm, after?
I was a little hoodlum.
Yeah.
I went and did as I pleased because I didn't have a father figure, and I kind of did as I felt and did whatever I wanted. And I had a mother.
Your mother couldn't control you.
Oh, I had a very loving mother, but I thought I was a grown man, and nobody could tell me anything different.
Now that's when you were about 12.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what it was when you were about 12. So about 5 years ago, you got this, I'm a man, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you can't stop me from doing it.
Testosterone hit me, and I went in my own way.
What were you doing out there?
I was fighting, drinking, going out with the wrong types of people.
As you just said, the wrong types of people. That's one thing I wanted the youth out here to hear from you all. If you get connected to the wrong type of people, then you may end up doing some of the wrong types of things. And how did you overcome that? Well, Mr. Kevin helped you, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. If it wouldn't have been for me finding that little slip of paper on the old country store, I would have never started boxing.
About his gym?
Oh, yeah.
About his gym?
It was a piece of paper taped up on an old concrete wall at a store about a mile down the road from the gym. And I found this little piece of paper, and I called him. And I'd always wanted to box because I heard stories about my daddy used to box.
Oh, did he?
And I got into it, and I called him. And after that, I went uphill from there.
What did it do for you? Did you find your purpose? And that's what the name of your show, Finding Your Purpose Through Boxing It Out. Because sometimes, I guess, you got a lot of anger built up in you. It sounded you were mad because your daddy was gone, and you were just mad at you. Not only did you lose your daddy, you lost your house. Your house burned down, you told me. So you became homeless. And then after a while, you got a trailer, and then now you all have a brand new house, which is a great story.
And actually, that was after I'd stopped boxing, and even after I'd stopped boxing, Coach was always there for us no matter what. You
all have seen Babyface's father, Kevin Allen. He was on one of our other shows talking about solutions in the black community with a couple of reverends, Reverend Pritchard and Preston Castile, the Southern University Alumni Foundation president. And I've heard so many great things about your daddy. So you grew up with a really great man who's helped. He told me 500 boys, and I think some girls, came through his gyms, that he's helped all of them.
Between the gym and our home, man,
I bet you had more company, more brothers and sisters over there than you ever wanted to see.
There.
Yeah, that's how you call him your brother, right? Right. Yeah. So Malcolm, you have to give a lot of but you came out of. I mean, you've been through so much. You're 17.
Oh yeah.
Lost your dad when you were 8. Got there out there drinking and acting crazy when you were 12, hanging with the wrong people. And by the time you were how old had you met his father?
I think I was 14 or 15. And then I started boxing. I boxed there for about a year or two, year and a half, and it was the best thing I'd ever done.
What did it make you feel like? Because you could. The punching bag or the person was your
boxing,
anger?
It let out all those years that I had blamed the world for me losing my daddy, and everything that had happened to me, I blamed on everything else. And I started boxing, and it all went away. And it felt like I finally released it, and I found like that father figure that I never had. And it all just kind of went away, and I started going up in life instead of down.
And now you belong JRTC. You're in that job. What does it stand for?
It's a Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps.
So after that, if you decide to go to college, is it like a step to getting into the military?
Oh yes, ma'am. I want to go to Southern and then go for the Marines programming.
Oh, that'd be great. We need more good men, right? With the Marines, a few good men, isn't that the slogan for the Marines?
The few and the proud.
The few and the proud, okay. So you've been through a lot, and that's really why I wanted to do this show. I came, as I said, that night. I think I called your daddy, I texted him, after I came home from the from you all's match that night, and I said, boy, look at all these young men who are you know, changing their lives through boxing, because I was sitting next to someone, Babyface, who knew you, and they told me about your father.
Yeah.
And I think they gave your father my card, and he called me because I had given him a card that night. And then I called Bill Tucker, and I told him to ask you if you'd be willing to come on TV. And what we're trying to do now, what is help others. I mean, you all are so young, and you're helping other young men already, because some of the paths that you all have gone on, yours has been one of sharing and learning, and you know, from your parents.
Right.
Yours has been one of going up and down with a lot of devastating things. How, you know, you lose your father, you lose your home. I mean, it's not a lot of people in your age that have been through all of that.
Yeah.
But God has blessed you with a new home. Trailer first and a new home, you told me.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
a wonderful thing. And then you were hanging with some of the wrong people. You thought football, the Saints, was the be-all, end-all. Your life is over. Oh, Lord, they cut me from the Saints, right? You walked on and you didn't make it, really.
Well, it wasn't really it was really like a pro day.
Uh-huh.
You know, they came for the pro day. You run the 40-yard dash. You do 225. I did that like 23 times. I ran like a 4.840, which is, you know, for a linebacker is
That's
mediocre.
you were a linebacker.
Yeah, I was an
Defensive.
outside linebacker.
Defensive,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, it is what it is. I worked real hard, and I kind of was down on myself about it, but now that I
Right.
look at it, you know, it helped me be the person I am now.
Well, you're in a better place now. You just got in your first pro fight. You knocked someone out in the third round, so you know
ma'am.
that football wasn't at all. And that's what most boys should learn out there, and girls, whatever you're doing, there's always something else. There's a purpose in your life. And sometimes you find it younger, sometimes you find it older, but that's what we all need to find, because without a purpose, we're kind of wandering out here
Lost.
and lost. That's what we are, quite lost. Is there anything you all, because I'm going to get you all to show me, Bonnie's going to show me a few stances for like a woman or a self-defense. If somebody comes up behind me or in front of me or something, he's going to show me a few things. But is there something you all would like to leave with the audience? Parents, because we have a lot of bad parents. You all were lucky that you had good parents. You know, you lost one, and you blame the world for him being lost. But you know, I know you know kids who don't have good parents, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how do they get out of that situation? Have you met a lot that didn't have bad parents and your father helped them?
Of course, my home was like refuge to a lot of kids. You know, I mean, my parents basically opened up the doors to anybody who needed help. Anybody, you know. I mean, I look at my parents like great humanitarians.
Right.
In my eyes, they're some of the greatest people I know.
And the only reason your father's gym closed was Breck wanted to charge him more rent when he was paying for everything else himself.
Right.
And we said that on the show. And again, we've got potentially some people going to work with him to try to get Breck to reopen the gym, because it's not being used now. Why are you having something sitting here? And boys can, or girls can be learning,
Right.
you know, a purpose in
Self-defense
their
and
life,
discipline.
self-defense, wanting to box, whatever.
Right.
Make a
Right.
difference in their life.
Right.
Government red tape is no good thing a lot of the times.
Right.
So I'd like to ask you that then, Babyface. You all were a refuge for all kinds of kids.
Right.
And a lot of them coming from bad homes. How did these kids overcome it? Because they couldn't stay with you forever. You couldn't bring everybody in. So how did they, when they went back home, you know, did you talk to them and them parents, bad parents, whether it was domestic violence or beating them or drugs?
A lot of times they end up standing up with us till, you know,
Really?
they get grown. Yeah. My parents have raised hundreds of kids.
Really?
Yes. Like literally.
Oh my God, what a humanitarian your father
Literally.
is, and
Yeah.
your mother,
And-
because she had to be
And
there
my
a part of
father-
it too.
And my father and his side of the family basically own their own business. They're all entrepreneurs. My uncle, he owns
Right.
a contracting business.
Your
my-
father owns what? What did your father own?
Yeah, he was a logger,
Yeah, logger.
contractor.
Yeah, contractor.
My uncle, he clears land. My grandfather, he runs big trucks. So,
Is your grandfather still over in Mississippi?
no, he stays in Louisiana,
He's
like
in-
right down the street.
Oh, okay, all right.
But, you know, and a lot of boys, even to like Malcolm, you know, you teach them a trade, teach them the way that, so you can build your own nation and have your own, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because if someone feeds you, you know, they dictate whether you eat or not.
Right.
So if you got
Learn how
your
to
own
feed
business,
yourself.
yeah,
That's
learn
right.
how to do for self. God bless the child that got his own.
You got that right. And your father taught you that, and I'm sure he taught you that too. And your father
yeah.
taught you that because he's been in business all your life.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
You know, so.
And you mentioned the churches, and I think you all, that was down in New Orleans, right? Prior to Katrina.
Right, it was actually 34 of them. The one in New Orleans off of Martin Luther King was one of our most profitable restaurants, and it had 10 feet of flood damage.
Right.
And as you know, New Orleans is under sea level, so
Right.
insurance purposes, you don't really.
And that was one tragedy or bad thing that happened to your father and his business
Yes,
with the
ma'am.
churches, because he was all over the state of Louisiana and some in Alabama, wasn't he? Was just Louisiana?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, Georgia. It was in
Yes, ma'am.
Georgia that he had some. You all out of the church's business?
Yeah,
right?
we sold it back to the Cajun Incorporated.
Right. That was tough. You couldn't overcome Katrina after, with flood when you got
Yeah,
a
it was just
restaurant going on,
unfortunate
and there are no people there to eat. Right. Yeah.
It was real
But
unfortunate.
I mean, that was, how old were you when that happened? That was 10 years ago. Huh?
It was like 26, something like that.
Yeah. So what would you leave with other youth out here? What would you tell them to do in their life when they think there is nowhere to go? They don't have a Kevin Allen's father, and they don't have a father of their own. They have nowhere to go.
Well, you always gotta have a plan. Coming up, I wasn't one of the guys to say I want to be a pro football player, pro baseball player, but I had a plan. And my dad always tell me, the people that you hang around determines your success. So I would tell the youth out there, if you surround yourself with positive people, you're gonna have a positive outcome on life and be a more productive citizen.
Because it's really sad when you go into, whether it's a trailer park or into some communities, black communities, that all they know is their environment. I had a kid really ask somebody, he lived over in Banks, and he asked this white man, do you all have slaves over there? And he was serious. He was serious. Do we have slaves? Because that's what he had heard. And so, sometimes, and we were talking about that in another show, people have to get out of that environment, and some people don't have a way to get out of that environment. And that's Dianne Andrews in Black and White. That's what we're trying to do, with solutions on trying to see how we can help as many people as we can. Silky Slim is on my show quite often, and we had a show with he and Reverend Robinson and a couple other ministers, Dr. Riley earlier this month. And that's what we're trying to come up with. How can we help as much as we can and come up with some solutions? Because everybody can talk about it,
right.
But what are we really going to do about it? And the black community, some of the black communities have gotten so bad now, you almost cannot go back in them. And what do? How do you get to these people is really the key to how we can influence and change people. When we got people in Baton Rouge asking, do you have slaves on the other side of town? Lost. And it's not their fault. They just don't know. Were you always around black people, Malcolm?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So it was never a problem. You went to school in Pride?
Yes, ma'am.
Northeast, there in Pride?
I've always been in predominantly black areas, and it's never made a difference to me, black, white, anyway.
Do you have any, like in your family, any of your friends, when they see, you're such good friends with black people, any problems with any of them?
Oh, no. My mama and Mr. Kevin have good relationship. They'd sit there and talk and joke at the gym all day. And it's never been a problem, and it's never been something that's affected me.
Right.
It's just I've always been friends with everybody. It never made no difference what color you were. And that's the way it should be.
Oh,
yeah.
But a lot of people, again, I still can't keep going back to slaves on the other side of town.
Right, lost.
In Banks, what is it, 10 miles from here, maybe?
Lost.
Definitely lost.
Give or take.
Yeah, but it's because they've never been out of their environment. I saw a movie, I talked about it in one of the other shows, called Freedom Riding. And Hilary Swank was in it. It was done in Long Beach, California. And it's a true story. Hilary Swank she's a white lady in the movie, she's a white lady, and they sent her to Long Beach to this black school, and it was the worst in the state. They had terrible books for them, they treated them badly, they couldn't pass anything. Did you see that movie?
Kind of like The Substitute.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but she went out, and some of them were living, on the streets. One guy was living down in a hole all these black kids, and Vietnamese and a few white. But she took them and she showed them the Holocaust Museum, and she took them out of their environment, and then they ended up doing very well in the next 2 years. She went on her own money and bought them books, so they didn't have to get the hand-me-downs and the worst books. So sometimes it's about what's in here. You have to teach people that they are worth something because they don't think they're worth anything. And but you all have done, and I hope the youth out here see this show. And we're going to go to break, and we'll be right back with Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Welcome back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White in the boxing arena, okay? I'm the fighter here, as we can see, who's dressed like a fighter and who's dressed like a businessman. But all jokes aside, the Diesel, I'll call him the Diesel since I don't want him to knock me out, is going to show me a few self-defense stances and things for maybe a lady who may be attacked, something simple that they could learn on how to defend themselves if somebody comes onto them trying to attack them. What would I do?
Well, Dianne, you're right-handed, right? Okay, so you would lead with your left foot.
Okay.
You know, get a little athletic stance, a little
Okay.
bend in your knees.
Okay.
And just a basic 1-2 punch, still just like that.
Now, should I go for his throat if it's a man down here? If it's a man up here, where should I go for?
When I'm in the ring, I like to look at a guy's chest. That let me
Now,
know
this ain't the
everything.
ring. I'm out in the streets and some
Okay,
guy trying to attack me.
Survival, you know,
Yeah.
1-2 punch, you go straight for his nose, you know.
Go for the
Get him in
nose.
his nose, you gonna blink his eye, and you knock him out with the 2.
Okay, if I can, right?
Yeah, this your strong hand right here.
Right,
so
this is
that's
my
the one
strong
that's
hand.
gonna hurt him. You know, the one he don't see
The
gonna
one
hurt
with the
him.
ring on it, maybe that'll get him in the nose, right? Hit him with the ring, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, just punch my hand right here. Now, when you punch, Dianne, you want to punch with these 2 knuckles right here.
Okay, these two.
Yeah, if you
now.
punch with these 2, you're going to hurt yourself.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Put your hand back up, let me try.
There you go.
Okay, let me. Okay.
Come with the left hand. There you go. Now, put it together.
Think I can beat him up, y'all? Think I can beat him up?
Hey, that'll save you. If
Yeah,
you're in a
really.
dark alley,
You know
somebody trying to
something?
take
That's
your wallet
right.
or something,
Yeah.
pop,
Thank
get them off
Jesus.
you.
I think, you know what I'd like to get? One of those hanging bags. Do they have little ones for little women? Yeah. I do, because I think if you're mad one day and you go and punch in that bag, I think it would help you. You know, yeah, anger management. That's a good anger management technique. Thanks.
Yes,
Come on,
ma'am.
let's sit down here a minute. At the end of my shows, is there anything you all would like to leave with the youth out there, or parents who something they can learn from your parents?
You know, just be your own man. Don't follow the crowd.
What about a girl?
Be your own woman.
Okay.
Don't follow the crowd. You know, you're not grown when you still letting other people choose your decisions for you. You know, use your own brain.
What would you like to say, Mel?
Really, all you can do is, even if you don't have that figure, have your own goals. Look to make yourself better than the people that are around you or raised you, or however you do it. Just want better for yourself as a person, as a man or a woman.
Like Malcolm says, have goals for yourself. Always strive for greatness. Don't settle for less.
And if you're ever down, you're not out.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember that. I am so impressed with you all and what you all are doing and how you have turned your lives around and going on the straight and narrow, and there's nothing to be given to you but praise. At the end of my shows, if you've ever watched it, I have a ritual that I always do. I saw this as a little girl growing up in Rouge, Louisiana. And what it was a Christian show that came on every Sunday morning. And they would say, if everyone lit just one little candle, what a bright world this would be. So I would ask you to go out and make your world bright, but also to make someone else's world bright. Because if you help others, then you help yourself. If you help, say, one person, they say you save the world. But if everyone saves one, if everyone lights one candle, illuminate your life, bring the brightness into other people. Thank you very much for watching and supporting Dianne Andrews in Black and White. See you again next Sunday or next Tuesday. We're all over the state. We're almost on every day. We come on 5 times a week in Baton Rouge, twice in New Orleans, twice in Lafayette, twice in Shreveport, twice in Alexandria. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. From Dianne Andrews from Rouge, Louisiana.